This flight was iconic. People, you just saw 6 people who know nothing about space go up successfully and come back down.
Who gets to go to space in 2050?
Everybody.
Do you think in 25 years we're going to make it cheap enough for everybody to go there?
Exactly.
How does the everyday life in orbit is going to look like?
Normal. That will be the new normal.
Welcome to the Tech Foresight podcast. This is the podcast where we dive deep into how technology is reshaping industries and our future. I am your host, Diana Daniels, and I work at the intersection of telecom, blockchain, and digital inclusion. And in every episode, we are exploring the great ideas that the real world and the tech that is shifting how we live, lead, and work. Today, we're going to look up because on April 14, 2025, Blue Origin launched the NS-31st mission, and history was made. For the very first time in over 60 years, an all-woman crew ventured into space. 6 passengers, Aisha Bowe, Amanda Nguyen, Gail King, Katy Perry, Caribbean Flynn, and Lawrence Sanchez, they all boarded the Blue Origin's fully autonomous New Shepard rocket. The mission lasted about maybe 11 minutes, but it crossed a historic line. And not just the Kármán line. It crossed actually the line that no one will think that it could make it happen. It was a cultural, technological, and symbolical one. So what does this mean for us? Why does this episode matter? Well, because space is not only science fiction anymore. It's commercial, it's inclusive, and it's increasingly autonomous. And if you're a technologist, policymaker, investor, or just someone who wants to understand where we are heading, this conversation is for you. And to unpack this for us, and joining us today is Monali Jain. She is the Chief Data and Analytics Officer at Blue Origin and founder of Autonomous Space Labs. Monali is building the systems and the strategy behind the next frontier in human exploration. Monali, thank you and welcome to the Tech Foresight podcast.
Thank you, Diana. I'm so excited to be talking to you and celebrating this success with you.
Well, just for the context for our listeners, Blue Origin's New Shepard rocket is I understand, a suborbital vehicle that is operated entirely without a pilot. It's controlled by, it's controlled by, tell us a little bit, what is this NS-31 mission that it was launched like 2 weeks ago? And this pivotal moment where 6 women, not astronauts, no cockpit, just tech and trust. What it does it mean for you? What does it represent for you as a leader inside the Blue Origin? And also that someone that, like you, that you're pioneering, autonomous space systems.
Okay, you have multiple questions in one question, so yeah. So I'll start from the beginning. Do you think I can share some screenshots?
Yeah.
Like pictures? Okay. So I'm going to share you a photo on my Facebook post from 2016, which is 8816. If you can see the numbers, I'm a numbers person. You can see it in my back graphs and everything. Data engineering analytics is what I do. But I actually earned my skydiving license. That's me in the center. And all of these are skydivers. They picked me up because I actually did 18 jumps, including the solo certification graduation jump.
And so just for our listeners that are listening to this and not watching, Monali is sharing with us this post on Facebook where a bunch of, is that, who is in there? They're like cheering you up and just lifting up because of this skydive jump that you did.
Every single person here is a professional skydiver. And there are 3 or 4 people actually the person who's picked me up have done more than 12,000 skydives when this picture was taken. Now they probably may have crossed 20,000 skydives. So yeah, every single person in this photo is a professional skydiver. And this is how they celebrate when you get your license, when you successfully jump off the plane with no help or by yourself. And I have another photo to show you. This is me again. It's one of the 18 skydives where I actually jumped up and I looked at the earth very differently. This is from 18,000 feet, looking down on Rocher and Texas landscape.
So just
So
just again for our listeners, this is a photo of Monali in a full jumpsuit, helmet, and right on the sky you can see the beautiful blue sky and kind of like a little bit of rounding the earth in there. That's super exciting, amazing.
And I think I saw a dream at that time. And I'm going to share one last click before we jump back to the conversation, which is share this this smile that you see. So
Yeah.
I kind of when this photo was clicked and I was smiling, this was my first time actually thinking about, oh, how easy is this? How easy it is to go to space or see a Earth from the altitude and it's so peaceful because once I open the parachute, the feeling is uncomparable. And I'm like, why people are not doing this? I'm wearing an Apple Watch in this photo, and when I landed back successfully, I've only burned 14 calories. So, engineer in me started thinking it takes such a small amount of fuel, even for my body, to travel so much distance and see Earth in some such an amazing way. And why are we spending like so much money on carbon emitting fuels? So
Hmm.
that's all kind of I'm thinking why people haven't done lots of experiments with parachutes. Why are we always investing so much into going against the gravity? Rockets are like more and more fuel burning and bigger. But why have we not experimented coming down on Earth along with the gravity? So instead of fighting the gravity, what can we do to align ourselves? And
Nice.
that's 8816 I wanted to share because that is the day I actually thought about doing an all-woman human space flight. This was the time when even the main haven't done a human space flight yet. um, so the Blue Shepherd and all were concepts at the time. But I think the journey has been pretty significant. I actually ended up buying a land in Arizona on 2017 on July 7th on my uh, anniversary and gifting it to my husband saying, I want to do something with space on this 1 square mile land. I put my money where my mouth is, and I'm still trying to figure out different ideas. Went to Singapore Airlines. COVID happened, had to come back to US, and I gave up on my idea. I thought
Hmm.
this is not happening. I'm back to software technology, working with Alphabet company Dexcom, G7 monitor regulatory filing. Right after the filing, I was bored. I
Ah.
Within a day, I booked a ticket to Kilimanjaro. I hiked up Kilimanjaro third time, submitted all three summits, and I'm thinking I need to do one more thing before I go back to the boring life of tech in the Silicon Valley.
Okay.
And I come
Uh-huh.
back and I actually enroll in Stanford program. I'm trying to get into this network. Bill Barnett, director of Stanford executive program, is sharing the story of Amazon Prime Air and
Right.
how actually the people used to sleep in the airplane because they didn't know
Uh-huh.
where their next logistic delivery is going to be. And that just opened up my eyes. I'm like, that's my kind of people. I do that. I carry my sleeping bag when there is a release happening for overnight. I figured out my way to actually get into Blue Origin. I
Hmm.
um, worked with them, and I think in April, I joined them in January. And April, we had a roadmap built, which talked about bringing back the human space flight after 2 years. And
Mm.
Mission 25th in the month of May last year was the relaunch of human space flight, but it
Hmm.
was actually supported by thousands of people at Blue Origin. Data for how every single part needs to be replaced or maintained because we want to reuse the flights
Yeah.
hardware. We don't want to rebuild everything for 9 months. So, what would it take for every month to bring that flight back? So, the maintenance, end of life of every part, all of that data and reporting was my team, which is pretty exciting. The more visibility was about how to bring the cost down. So, all the costing reports, etc., were built by my team. And I was convinced this is happening. But
This is amazing.
yeah, so for fast forward April 14th, I didn't sleep the whole night. I was
Okay.
hoping everything goes well. And I actually have nothing to do with a glamorous crew that went up. So after the roadmap, supporting all the data, etc., to get to 10x cadence, all the marketing team have done the work. All these big shots who showed up and who wanted to
Uh-huh.
put their life in the hands of a rocket that's roaring at such a high speed is amazing. I
It is.
yeah, I just went back and saw my own photo of 8816, the post I wrote sitting on Rosharan skydive outside of it. I kind of and then at the airport after the successful graduation dive, I kind of posted it, and I'm like, dreams do come true. Uh,
But what most people don't realize, Monali, is that this must be super complex. It's an autonomous bike because there's no steering, no real time joystick, as we said, no pilot. It's just a vertical takeoff, weightless re-entry and recovery. What makes the space autonomy radically harder than, say, I don't know, self-driving cars? What is it? Is this different? I presume it's completely different, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think the autonomy is actually not new. When I jumped off the airplane with the skydive, there is a built-in feature in every single parachute that if
Mm.
a pilot forgets to open the parachute at 1,000 feet AGL, it will open by itself. There is a
Okay.
third parachute. So there is a one parachute that you open. If it's defective, you can throw it off during the dive and open the second one yourself. And then there is a third hidden parachute. They actually teach you how to pack, and that green light is what you're testing like 100 times before you jump off the plane. That, hey, that secret autonomous parachute will open. And one of the skydivers says, this is a worst way to do suicide because the parachute is going to open. Now you better be ready to land because if you don't, you might break a bone because you land wrong way. But so
Okay.
the autonomy is not new. Autonomy is
Mm.
in existence since they built this feature, and this was built in 1950s. So the
Oh.
aviators from US were so brilliant that the parachute opening will happen no matter what. So that feature is actually built into the crew capsule. I did the crew capsule certification before I decided to do other things. And I had a full confidence that the parachute is going to open. But those are the exact three parachutes used in the crew capsules in 1950s, 1960s. So it doesn't make it difficult. It's actually in existence forever. It's and
I,
that
I would,
autonomous
yeah.
that autonomous feature gives us the trust, right? So everybody wants to do a vertical takeoff. They want to land, right? Reuse. All of that takes a lot of effort because there are so many parts. You cannot actually see them. So you need to collect a million point data points in every single engine that you're burning and doing the test, right? All that sensor data goes into a machine learning algorithm. That was the hope, but when we started using TensorFlow, MATLAB, etc., all we got was the sensor type, the category, the type of data collected, like temperature goes up, size of the goes up or inflates or shrinks or whatever, the etc. And that's about it. And then we have to sit there, and after 3 days, we can get all the data inside a computer because all of these are different devices. And after 3, 4 days, when we start analyzing them, applying machine learning on top of it was such a complex thing because the TensorFlow and
Mm.
other algorithms have focused so much on the language. So LLMs, etc., make it harder because there is no way to convert all of this sensor data into a language and then back here. The humans have not started talking the language of sensors yet. So I decided to found this company called Autonomous, which is completely focused on actually applying machine learning algorithms to the data that's collected from sensors, not necessarily just the language, but then making sense of it in much faster speed, because the training models, etc., don't need to go through the complex process of LLM. There's a lot of learning from LLMs that we can leverage in terms of the infrastructure it needs, the billions of parameters we can process. But it's basically tying back to what you talked about, the self-driving car. So
Mhm.
this for self-driving car, you need to do all the analysis, computer vision, remotes, understand the perspective, etc. But only two outputs are needed: the angle in which you're doing the steering wheel turn
Okay.
and the acceleration or deceleration number. So it's a negative,
Gotcha.
it's braking, or positive, right? And those drive the car anywhere it goes, right? So the thing with the parachutes, it's only two strings you're pulling, one side or the other. And as long as we can get that output correctly, we can do so many things of landing. People landing packages, landing an entire submarine. I don't know. So it can be done. The payloads can be that big of a size, right? So even the satellites, right? There are a lot of conversations about how they're creating debris. All of those activities are multiple use cases. And if we can apply all the things that we have learned about machine learning and AI, then we can actually apply, advance these use cases at much faster speed.
So
Because
in this matter, Monali, what do you think is like from the data and AI perspective, what is that most underestimated system or decision layer that in this case, like on that mission, has to make it work? What piece of data or layer is probably the one that not everybody thinks that is that difficult, but it is.
so it is difficult from cultural perspective, the mindset perspective, and then the
Oh,
technology perspective. So, like
okay.
I mentioned, the technology perspective, autonomous opening of parachute was done in 1950s.
Okay. So
One use case, one context, measure the altitude. When I was told this parachute will open 1,000 feet above, I was going in my mind, oh, so how do you calculate AGL? If I'm flying off from 7,000 feet mountain, how do you know it has to open at 8,000? Or, if I'm a sea level. And all of those questions I couldn't ask the skydivers,
Hmm.
because the people who do skydiving are not scientists.
Right.
Because of the mindset of the people that who go and do these things are crazy.
Risk
So
averse.
I would say, it's like I mentioned, it's the worst way to do suicide. There is no risk. But for some reason, when we did this space flight and then we canceled it, and then the big news happens only when the um, re-entry crashes and six, Colombia kind of lost people. Those are six losses. I respect that courage, but that is not the case with every single jump. There are people with 20,000 skydives, so they're doing this in and out. If you calculate
Hmm.
number of days of life, there are not even 20,000 days. They do like 10 of them every day. They made me do
Wow.
18 skydives in 72 hours.
My God.
In my periods at the age of 40 with the
Ay, ay, ay.
tijeras. So
Wow.
it's not a technology that's a problem. It's the mindset that's a issue, right? So that
Hmm.
mindset, if we shift, and now Katy Perry going up is going to shift that mindset. Now, my daughter was watching it and she's like, "Oh, that was just a 10-minute flight. Is it worth spending $25 million for that?" And it's like, oh, it's opening up now. People can actually think about working with the gravity coming back down. Now we can actually start collecting that data and start using it. So the technology was not difficult, I would say,
Hmm.
but the mindset was the big blocker.
That's
And
the big
I
blockage.
am excited about this flight because of that. That mindset. Now, even my 16-year-old daughter and all her classmates are saying, "Mommy, that was easy. That was a waste of money." And I'm like, okay.
Oh, oh. But listen, autonomous systems today are, as you were saying a little bit about it, you were advancing us. They are still rigid, they're very scripted. And what I believe that the future is calling for something probably more smarter. And I read a little bit this generative autonomy where AI not only reacts but adapts. That this is kind of like what you're doing, I believe, and in your mission with the autonomous space labs. you talked to us a little bit about the spark that you have, but what I would like to know is what is the challenge or gap that is making you say, I really need to create this autonomous space lab?
Yes. So when the human flight got on the roadmap, I started working with rest of the organization, and I hit lots of roadblocks.
Mm.
Applying AI, collecting data, everything was, and I personally concluded that if we try to change anything that we are doing from this 1960s take, and we do one mistake, it will be a huge setback to winning the
Okay.
trust of people, right? So it needs to be a separate company. It needs to be many, many different experiments outside of this one use case of human space flight. And the human space flights need to be done like thousands of times, getting 100,000 people up and down before we trust the experimentation there. So, in the same process, I actually came pretty close to, as a plan B, 1 degree separation from attending Richard Branson's island visit. It cost
Okay.
only 60K to attend it. I was on the invitee list. But then I decided that, hey, it's better to spend that money on building a software company for autonomous.
Great.
And coming to that, so one use case needs to be done multiple times to win the trust of people, right?
Mhm.
But at the same time, a software needs to be built. There are sensor data that's being collected that needs to be put through the training models and put onto the NGC catalog of AI catalogs out there. The data needs to be available on Kaggle, where all the data for rest of the AI training exists, and all of that needs can be applied to so many use cases. So, satellite is an autonomous vehicle that goes around the Earth in 90 minutes.
Uh-huh.
You can, but it's capturing data for two use cases today, which is internet and GPS.
Okay.
Okay. But it can be used for so many different other activities. And it doesn't even have a parachute involved today. Uh, so, combining all of these different layers of how things work at different altitudes takes a whole different mindset. And it needs to be software driven mindset because all of these activities I'm talking about can be triggered after you do the learning from the AI model, the output comes out and it needs to trigger the action in the vehicles.
So if you have to bet one on one near term use case, about this, and let's think about maybe lunar repair or bots that are doing this, or orbit debris cleanup, or asteroid logistics. Where will your, I don't know, autonomy outperform humans? Do you think that it will what will we do first?
The first is a hard one for me to say. I'm connecting with people right now, but actually, there already has been first, which is the drones. So, all these
Okay.
drone companies that have received huge amount of funding, they are actually working completely autonomously.
Hmm.
Right? They are taking off and landing without human involved. So the first use case is already out there, helping. Zipline did million deliveries. Wing from Google have done uh, partnership with Walmart, and they are doing deliveries in the middle of the United States, where there is less traffic of airplanes. So the first use case is already in existence. But the software that those guys built is not helping the other vehicles like satellites, supersonic planes, or jets or aircrafts yet,
Hmm.
because it's so custom built, right? So, but the concept is exactly the same. So there needs to be like operating system, which is a little bit beyond robotic operating system, but which is about a machine learning operating system and an edge operating system. And I need to come up with a name for that yet. But I just want to soak in today this celebration for this flight and then work on it as we move forward. So the first use case exists with the drones. It's very close to our Earth. The millions of deliveries are being done today from many, many companies. And we just need to have the satellite software, uh, the drone software, the supersonic software, all of them to embrace machine learning. And if there is one kind of a common platform for that, autonomous platform, then it will enable all of them at much higher scale. So instead of one use case, you'll have 1,000 use cases.
So Manali, if I'm hearing you out, and I'm just kind of imagining the world ahead, and I see all these auto flying devices, not only in the air but also in the space, and I'm thinking, what is the future of of the astronauts? What are they going to do in the future?
So yes, in the past, astronaut has been a whole new career, right? Something to
Mm.
brag about, something we look up to. I still remember coming to uh, Bay Area, going to NASA visit, and then literally like my heart pumping to meet the first astronaut, standing in line, taking the autograph, right? Uh,
Yeah.
but then when I jumped off the plane 20 years later on my 40th birthday, I realized that, hey, this is this is going to be normal. Same thing with computer engineers, right? Same thing with a lot of
But
disciplines.
pilots today. Yeah.
Yeah, that have come and gone, right? I became a pilot at the age of 45. If I can learn so late, I landed the aircraft every single time, in every single emergency situation so well that the examiner took my photo standing on the top of aircraft. All of these things are skills to be learned. So there is a new space economy university that approached me, and I am planning to build a discipline of autonomous software. So I talked to them 6 months, like 5 months ago, and he gave me the entire curriculum, and that curriculum still talks about different segments. It
Mm.
doesn't have a common thread of software yet. So I'm actually working on building that curriculum, and hopefully, when the fall comes, I will be teaching that curriculum as a professor as well. I just want to finish my doctorate before I become a professor. But the new space economy graduation, the master's program, was actually a pilot program in MIT 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I actually completed the course before, and I think that's how I got into Blue Origin, because I met Erika Wagner, who was teaching and representing Blue Origin in that program. And basically, there are going to be thousands of space engineers or autonomous engineers with a discipline to study. It's going to be way beyond what we see today. It's going to have different layers of machine learning and context integration. Websites, they came with a user interface. We can
Mm-hmm.
draw the wireframes, we can do A/B testing, etc. In case of autonomous, you don't see anything. It's like a soul. You don't see a soul, but it exists. The same thing with the software and the machine learning that can do in the vehicles. You won't be able to
Mm.
see it, but they can actually map the entire air traffic in the sky at different altitudes and then navigate through. So the parachutes can navigate through without hitting each other, right? So regulatory frameworks need to be put in place. When the roads were built in United States in 1930s, right, they came up with the signals and freeways, exits, and turns, right? We need to build all of those. So there needs to be a huge investment. I think in February, there was a NASA publication that they have an autonomous operating system. So I am still going to go through that and figure out if I can influence that a little bit. But that combined with this whole new master's program in autonomous software in new space economy will
Mm.
create sustainable business models. So anyway, yeah, that's like a circular business model where the currency doesn't matter. And if the borders disappear, then I don't want to be part of the political overall that will happen, but I want to be part of the technology side. Um,
Listen, this space economy is projected to hit about like 1 trillion by 2040, And according, I was reading this paper when we were preparing for our program today, that the OECD, they say that automation will manage over 60% of the mission critical tasks by 2035. So I guess that the ground question is not like if machines will operate in space, but it's more about like how much and how soon. So if we think like in 5 years from now, we are 2025, let's going to think 2030, what will autonomous systems will be doing in space that we currently don't trust them to do right now?
I'll do an analogy for you, which is in existence. When I worked on the first internet server in 1993 in India, India's first internet server, the multi-threading approach was hard for people to understand.
Mm.
The same question, right? Everyone becomes astronaut. you and me, my kids, everybody becomes astronaut. Um,
Huh.
uh, what that means is they don't need to know how the vehicle works. Uh,
Okay.
right? It can run completely on itself. Compare that to the internet. People don't need to know the HTTPS programming, the SOAP protocol, the XML data transfer that happens. They just click a button on their phone and the lights turn on in
Okay.
the parents' house outside of the country,
Yes.
right? And that's something, if you try to explain them, that's the technology that works. The data goes from your phone to the Wi Fi network over the internet, which is a whole different Cisco infrastructure in the back. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
like 500 jobs that make it happen in that 1 second response that you get from one click, right?
Yes.
Somebody built that light that's connected to internet that has the plug and switch. There may be some functionality of the cameras monitoring people coming in and out, giving you security alerts. All of those different technologies were built by millions of engineers,
Yeah.
right? Normal people don't need to know that. Same
Hmm.
thing will happen with the space systems. They would leverage the use cases that, hey, I want to go from SFO to Mumbai to celebrate my dad's birthday, and I'll be there in less than 5 hours. I don't need to know anything else. I should be worried about carrying the cake that I baked for him. Not necessary. Oh, how the takeoff is going to happen? When am I going to land? And what is going to happen? It's going to be just like, so, and that then only millions and billions of people will use the technology, right?
So
All good.
if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is that 5 years from now, it's about the decision making that we don't necessarily let them do today. There will be more tasks that AI, I'm sorry, that not AI only, but autonomous systems will do in the future.
And I believe it will be done. So I've also studied in deep about the self-driving cars. It's 20 years in the making, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
adoption is happening, but not there yet because it's limited with the infrastructure that was built for the roads
Right.
in 1930s, right? Um, it has the terrains, it has the up and down, the valleys, the rivers, etc. We barely use 5% of the land effectively
Right.
for humans, right? But with autonomous, it's exactly the same air and the gravity and the weather conditions around the globe, no matter where you are. We can actually leverage the oceans more effectively for takeoff landing, which we haven't done
Hmm.
before, right? So we can actually use 95% of the earth that we are not using. And if that happens, we can support billions of people who don't need to actually even think about how they're using all of this technology, and millions of engineers. That would be whole new job creation, right? So, learning from the computer industry, the future for the space and autonomous is going to be pretty parallel, but at accelerated pace, right? There wasn't a social media when internet
So,
started.
and I love to push, a little bit, to exercise our gym work with the mind today. And if we think, okay, this was 2030, let's go into 2040, right? Can you see these AI led teams where machine are guiding the human crews, or even maybe lead planetary tasks? I mean, fully, by themselves. What do you see in there?
Uh, so, the goal is to go beyond what we have been able to do, right? It's incremental innovation is what we have done, right? The internet connected the worlds and people started traveling across, and then one part of the world started supplying all the manufacturing while the other part of the world started consuming, correct? So same thing with the space, right? All the experimentation we can do on Earth as a planet
Hmm.
now can run and work on other planets like Moon or the other planet. We can actually have a capacity to explore new horizons. Right now,
Right.
we are too busy trying to figure out where my food is going to come. Right, DoorDash, Grubhub are so new, but that will be like a back of the mind um, technology, and the new technology will be about the space. Right, if we can do million experiments. So I spent some time at Spacecom with the VP of engineering at Intuitive Machines, the company that actually did the lunar flight successfully literally
Mhm.
before last year. And they actually are also the people who built all the rovers that are autonomously working on moon for decades. And he gave me an option to come visit and see everything that they are building. And I am
Wow.
planning to do it. But
Okay.
right? So all of that is actually in existence for 20 years. We just don't have capacity and money to push for those horizons yet, right? So there are only 4 or 5 rovers. Imagine they become 500,000 and give us the data. We need
What
to
would you do
start
with all that data?
exactly, right? So just if we have common layers and common ways of applying machine learning, building the models, etc., we can actually start leveraging that data. I don't know what people are going to make yet. I didn't know when I wrote the multi-threading program for C++ what people were supposed to do with internet, right? But it is going to be huge, right? So 2040, I believe that there will be so many use cases. So many people will be building big companies, $100 billion, $1 trillion companies. And I would be sitting on one of the satellites, just watching people down on Earth, hopefully, and
I'm hoping too.
saying that, hey, I spoke about this with Diana on this call, just like I
You
did.
have to give me a phone call. You have to give me a phone. Hey, Diana, out here in the space orbit, whatever station, and watching you from up here. Will be fun.
Yeah, one of the dream is like, with the mobile and everything, we have stopped talking to each other. With the autonomous, everything will be done automatically and we'll have time to talk to each other.
That's what I
Hopefully.
like. So, one other thing I guess that is super interesting is these space jobs are evolving. We were just talking about like a moment ago, but like how when we were kids, people were dreaming on how to be astronauts and how these astronaut jobs are evolving. But in general terms, I believe that the jobs related to space that NASA or ESA are doing, or even private firms like Blue Origin where you work, they're hiring different type of jobs from AI ethicists to orbital logistic leads and autonomy engineers. And what roles in aerospace or space operations are becoming obsolete as these new technologies are taking over?
Oh my God. I love the realization that skydiving packing is a job. There are people who do that for living. Okay.
Interesting.
So all these names that you're saying, orbital logistics, right? So if orbital reef comes up, right, it's going to be like a cruise. On a cruise, if you see, there are thousands of people working for 7 day cruise, right? So there is going to be that kind of a experience that's available to people who have no knowledge about space. And to
Hmm.
serve that experience, there will be the experts available, right? So orbital reef creation will require. You saw the photo, hopefully, with thousands of people who actually helped make this flight happen. 6 customers going up the space took so many people just on that day of the logistics, right? From the video cameras, building the trust, all of that, right? Transportation vehicles for the families uh, to the place where the crew capsule landed. Compare, those are all the positions, right? So those experiences are going to actually create lots of jobs, but the experience won't be just having a cup of coffee in a Starbucks. It will be
So
kind of like,
but you're very close to this, and you live it every day because you're in this environment. And I would like you to dare to say when or by when do you believe that we will have, I don't know, a coworker that is, you know, in a remote work that is actually, I don't know, in a lunar orbit, or what do you think that will this happen? What year?
2045.
That soon. People are really
It's not
going to be okay.
20 years. That's what happened with internet, right? In 10 years, they actually had furniture being delivered. So I think it will happen now because this flight was iconic. Uh,
Yeah.
People, you just saw 6 people who know nothing about space go up
Mm.
successfully and come back down, experience the zero G, right? And this is a first example of there have been so many stories. Oh, my parents actually went to space. My dad was astronaut, so I'm trying. This was my life dream, and I worked towards this. I tried to get the license. None of that was needed for these six ladies. They needed to
Yes,
do
true.
storytelling, right? So that actually is a proven use case, and now that it's proven, and now that everybody's watching that 24 cross 7 on social media, it's going to take
Mm.
off. So 20 years is not that far. It's actually,
You're right. You're
it's
right.
going to be
You're right.
much faster. I mean, literally, my kids went from fighting with me. Why are you going Monday through Friday to Seattle? I literally had my husband plan for divorce. He was like, if you're moving to Seattle, we're not coming. And I'm going, okay. So from that to yesterday's conversation was, oh, her flight was so easy. What you guys do is so normal. And I was like, okay, it feels normal, but it's not, right? But you know that feeling when people accept it? Going back to my beginning of the conversation, the mindset issue, right? This parachute opening happened in 1950 successfully, but people didn't
Yeah.
accept it because there was a stigma about it. When I went to Monday through Friday to Seattle, my family didn't accept it. And today they are making sure that they're not making noise in the kitchen because I'm talking to you. So it is happening at much faster rate. 20 years is actually when everybody will be using it. Lots of use cases will be way before that.
Time flies, and the time is running out with us all today. And I want to make sure that we land this orbit space into what I want to know everything from you. So, if there's one thing, I guess that I believe that foresight is not about tech; it's also about leadership. So, what is one thing you wish that your 18-year-old self had known? If you were able to travel not only to the space but actually travel back in time, what would you say to your 18-year-old girl?
So when I was 18-year-old, I actually had no idea that I'll be talking to you about space, right?
Mm.
I was supposed to be a housewife. I was supposed to get married. My parents would have called that a huge success.
Okay.
So I did not know that I actually would be sitting in front of the BE-3 engine and BE-7 engine for the Luna that's going to be shipped and eating lunch,
Okay.
like a normal lunch. In Kent, Washington, BE-7 for the Luna flight when it was being shipped. I clicked the photo for them, for the crew that actually had built the engine, right? So I didn't know a lot of things when I was 18. I was supposed to be living a happy life, cooking lunch and dinner, which I did for
But is there something that you wish you would know, thinking in
uh,
retrospective?
uh, yeah. So I think what I know now is software does not know if man, woman, or a child wrote it. Or
Mhm.
software doesn't know even a software wrote it. With the Copilot and AI, it doesn't
True.
matter. It works. It's like a soul. I did not know that soul was real, but I felt it when my children were born. And I would know before they have an accident that it's going to happen. And I'll shift my flights back to work, from work to home, just before they fall. So I know that exists, and I know that what we are creating with software and the machine learning and edge computing is just like that connection that nobody will see, but everybody will trust.
Okay.
And it is not going to matter who is making it happen. It is not
Hmm.
because things will be evolving on their own. The software will evolve the software and the logics and
Right.
the algorithms, right? So the combinations that are going to come out of them are going to be context related. It's like a circle of life. It will have its
Okay.
own life. The context is where the integrations will happen automatically, or some of them, the millions of engineers that we're building in new space economy will make it happen. Uh,
Hmm.
but it will evolve at a much rapid pace. So I would say at 18-year-old, I did not know all of this. I didn't know how to speak English. I
Okay. So, and your advice to her will be just embrace it. It's
uh,
okay.
my advice is miracles happen. Trust them.
Miracles happen. Trust.
Because all of this is going to feel like a miracle. When a satellite learns to repair itself, and repair all other things in a village that it's overlooking. It
And,
will
and
feel like
today,
a miracle.
and today, these engineers, these girls and guys that are studying, they have such a different, even in India, they have such a different options. It's not like when you and I were young kids, where women were expecting to be certain things. So, what are you going to tell this, especially women? I would like you to tell women that are probably young engineers or dreamers that want to lead the space. What would be your advice for them today?
I think my advice is skills matter, talent
Mhm.
matters, right?
Yes.
I went through the entire Google AI intensive program. I went through all the NGC catalog, almost every single possible certification for AI before I jump into autonomous, right? The reason is because you have to learn what's out there so you can change it. And that takes hard work. So focus on that, and people will listen to you, right? Um, I know that my photo of jumping from the skydive basically shifted the gears for people who said that 10 flights a year won't happen next year. At least,
Mm.
right? I know I made a small difference in earning the trust that it's possible. And I would say that it's not because I'm a woman or a man or whatever, it's because I worked hard for it, right? I jumped off the plane, right? So do the things that your heart believes you could do, trust it, and work hard for it. There are very few people who work hard.
So, if you will have, let's say, 1 minute with a G20 leader or the tech CEO, what should they start, stop, and keep doing to build a better future?
They should
Start,
start
stop, and keep. Start.
start
Start.
believing in the autonomous as one of the best use cases of AI.
All right.
Uh,
Stop.
Stop wasting a lot of time into billions of dollars of using taxpayer NASA funding for one use case. Distribute it for multiple use cases
Okay. Stop. And then keep doing.
and keep enrolling people into new space economy program and helping make these millions of new space economy engineers happen.
I love this. So when we're going to move forward and then go to our the four trends and four dreams. This is a really cool part of the program that I love, because this what it will do is, it help us to the four trends, help us to stay in the present. You're going to share these four trends, things that you're seeing right now that are changing your world in your industry, maybe one tech, one policy, in one talent, and maybe one in ethics. And then we're going to go far into the future. And I would like you to give us maybe your four dreams that is your vision for what space and autonomy can look like in 25 years from now. Let's think in 2050 already. All right. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, let's begin. So, four trends. Four trends, let's say short phrases, what is happening right now in tech. What trend in tech are you seeing?
Uh, Machine learning applications for the data and generating the output that will lead to the autonomous activities.
Love it. What about a trend in policy?
In the policy, lot of money is shifting. Every single country on every single continent want to be a leader in AI. But I see that there probably won't be a need for united countries, like one whole big regulation. Not necessary each one of them need to reinvent their entire system.
Beautiful. What about that trend on talent? How is the profile of the space innovator evolving?
Uh, I am thrilled about the new space economy discipline that's being added to the education system.
And what about that trend in ethics? What is that question that we're not asking enough?
In terms of ethics, right now everything revolves around the money, the financial system that was put in place by Hamilton 300 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that drives a lot of ethical decisions or unethical decisions, I can say. Uh, But if that disappears and it's about getting things done autonomously or exploring the new horizons, and we come together for that, it will be a whole new type of data governance or governance of autonomous systems that we give rise to. So the ethics will shift. They will shift from financial to actually making things happen.
I love this. So let's going to jump now into the future and let's going to talk about your four dreams. And the first thing that I wanted to ask you about is who gets to go to space in 2050?
Everybody. Uh, and not just the people, but also their plants, animals, pets, everything.
So, but do you think in 25 years we're going to make it cheap enough for everybody to go there?
Exactly. Yes. Because that's where the jobs are going to be. That's where people are going to make money to make it happen. Right? Internet became cheaper for people once we started making money off of the e-commerce. Same thing is going to happen with
So
autonomous.
if we think about your second dream, is how does the everyday life in orbit is going to look like?
Normal. That will be the new normal.
The new normal. Okay. What about a dream on innovation in your space, helping the earth? I don't know. Tell me a dream that you have.
Yeah, I really want all of these different altitude companies to start talking to each other and start using the same software that makes the software and the data generative outputs. So that is one thing that I want to focus on. Be a leader in the company that's well funded or build this company myself. I don't know the options yet. I would rather be having a chai on the beach than registering a company. But if that's what it takes, I would probably do it. So we'll figure that out. But it's going
I
to be
see you love
about
it.
building that tech, yeah, and building those millions of new jobs, engineers for new space economy. That's where my energy is going to be in.
And what would be like your fourth dream for the space and the future? What do you think? What do you wish?
Uh, my dream is people should see the Earth the way I see, or all these skydivers see, outside of the cockpit. Literally, it's breathtaking. It's life changing, and it's um, it's the happiest moment that you can have again and again in life when the parachute
So,
opens and everything goes quiet.
so if I can rephrase you, your fourth dream would be like everybody gets to experience this moment that you
Without
described.
have yeah, so without having to worry about life insurance. So when I decided to go for these jumps, the first question people ask, "What about your kids? If you die, what will happen?" It's like, don't ask me. Just come with me.
Love it. So if I want to probably want to distill this mission into three clear insights that I've been learning from you today. My first takeaway is autonomy is not just a tool; it's a new way of governing complex systems, especially in places that we cannot reach, like space. My second takeaway that I get from today is data becomes mission critical where especially when humans are not present, which is kind of like what you're doing, and the people who master this will actually going to lead the next, not only the space race, but probably the world, and one takeaway that we're actually a little grasp about it is inclusion is a list of that means better systems and hopefully better landing. I guess that hopefully intelligence and AI intelligence and all this is not is still more inclusive where everybody can make it happen. Those are my take. Did I forget something on my
I
takeaway?
loved it. I loved it. It's I would just summarize it as it's not about going up, it's about going up and coming down
I love
successfully.
this.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. Monali, thank you for very much for helping us zoom out and zoom in into this conversation. Um, if there's one piece of advice that you want to give out and to everybody, what it would that be?
Just embrace the change uh, and be the change. Um, both are necessary. Because you want other people to embrace your the things that you're making happen too. So embrace the change and be the change.
Well, this has been a fantastic episode. It's sparked with amazing, brilliant ideas, as much as the stars in the sky. And I want to thank you, Monali, for being with us.
Oh, thank you so much, Diana, for making this happen. It was lovely meeting you in Jaipur, and it has been amazing journey. And I hope I see you again in the next reunion. Yeah.
Definitely, we're going to be in the Stanford reunion in all the way into September in Venice. But for everybody, yes, you have to come. You have to come.
Yes. I love that place.
So for everybody else that has seen us today, thank you for following us. This episode is has been amazing. Lots of ideas, lots of questions, and we want to hear from you. So follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. The Tech Foresight podcast is going to take all your takeaways and use that hashtag Tech Foresight. Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a rating, and send us this episode to anybody that is looking for and that is either building, investing, or dreaming about the future of space. So until next time, seeing you, keep looking up and stay foresighted. Thank you.